Good evening, everyone. My name is Paul Young. I'm going to walk you through a basic introduction to Economics 101, basically how you can grow an economy, and basically the factors that will drive it. Now, my goal is to look at components of the economy. So look at export, manufacturing, sales, and I'll look at the taxation side, which is CPP, EI, and then I'll look at an overall government spending. Now, most of you take what mainstream media says at face value. Most of you don't go out and look at the pure facts that drive economies, okay? Canada is a country of close to 36 million people. That's a small country. There's countries out there, or cities out there in countries like India and China, that have populations in their metropolitan areas about the size of the whole population of Canada. So Canada has to drive things by exports. It's an export-driven economy. Despite what Justin Trudeau says about things, it's export-driven. If we don't expand exports, we don't bring in that revenue. So what you're seeing here is exports in total are close to 530 billion. Okay, of that, about 8% of the exports are natural resources. That's a small portion of it, but it drives a lot of the trade deficits and the trade surpluses. That's never discussed by the Liberal Party or the NDP Party or mainstream media. The resources will feed other sectors of the economy, provide the revenue. Here's what I'm trying to tell you here. If you take 560 billion export sales, they roughly generate about $9 billion in corporate taxes. That corporate tax goes in a bucket that pays out social services programs through the equalization, through different aspects. That's all part of that bucket of taxation money that goes to healthcare and post-secondary school education. Now, I'm going to talk about manufacturing because it's an area that always takes constant hits. It has become very competitive. It's also become very modernized. Okay, and there's been a lot more rationalization in manufacturing since the early 80s. What you're seeing here, what drives manufacturing in Canada? Well, it's consumer spending. If we buy cars, we buy food, different things that we make here, that drives it. It's also exports. Our manufacturers export aerospace products, manufacture finished woods products. We manufacture automotive. That's all part of it. That drives exports. Now, what's going to drive that? Well, if you look at the far right-hand side, you're going to see consumer spending. So if we've got more disposable income, we can spend more money in terms of purchases. We also look at the price of goods because that also drives what we're going to do. Product availability. Depending on where we order it from, we may order it from the U.S. or within Canada, or we might do it online. It just depends. What drives exports? Well, exports are driven by trade deals. You just can't walk into a country and open up for business. You can't. That's what drives it. Investment deals. You have to have specific investment deals allow the flow. So if I take manufacturing, now I'm using this as a rough number, about 1/3 of the corporate tax revenue is probably directly attributed to manufacturing. Let's talk about employment. A lot of you are worried about your jobs and your futures out there, and you should be. But what's going to drive this is poor government policies. Right now we've got incoherent statements made by the Liberal Party about pipelines or different things that they're going to put a focus on the economy. That's critical here. It's going to drive opportunities for the youth. It's the youth that voted the Liberal Party in. They're the ones that are going to see less opportunities unless the government starts moving a pro-export driven agenda. And you're not hearing that yet from them, and that needs to be aligned. Payroll taxes. If you hike these payroll taxes, they're a cost to business. CPP is an independent board. They manage those investments. You're seeing here, they've had phenomenal returns on their assets. That shows you that the independency of that board is that. The only reason I'm bringing it up is that Mr. Bryson said during the election that he wants to tell CPP investment board how to invest money. All of a sudden now, you're forcing them to make decisions driven by government intervention. That won't work. It'll actually put pressure on that fund. EI. This was an analysis done by the actuary to see where the fund balance would be with changes in rates. Based on the new legislative return, this shows you that basically the fund will be in a surplus balance. Government spending. Basically, this shows you what happens with all that bucket of money from corporate taxes to excise taxes to personal income taxes, they go to different things that pay old age security benefits, child care benefits, transfers to the provinces. They pay direct program spending, which is the departments like Department of Veterans Affairs. That's the military, the armed forces. That's where that money is being spent. Now, if you're going to grow an economy, then you have to focus on the key aspects of the economy. It is never going to be one policy that drives it. So when you hear Justin Trudeau talk about the 3 pillars, which is social housing, climate change, and infrastructure, those are just buzzwords. Unless you make strategic investments that are going to expand exports and put key focus on the key factors that are going to drive the economy, you will do nothing in terms of economic growth. All you will do is saddle future generations more debt, less opportunities. That's something mainstream media doesn't want to call out, and that's something you need to bear in mind when you look at information.